Welcome to another episode of Coming to Your Senses, where we talk about navigating the labyrinth of the mind, as well as not being able to speak first thing on a Monday morning, and emerging from that victorious. And I am really excited to be talking to Liam Browne today, who some of you may know, some of you may not know, but if you have spent any time around me, you will have heard me talk about ceremonial cacao and drinking cacao. And I have been for many years. However, I've never had a loyalty to a cacao until I discovered Liam's cacao. And I'm not going to talk about that much more because I'm going to hand over to Liam. And first of all, say welcome.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you.
It's really lovely to see you. And I'm going to start with my first question, which is, can you tell me a time in your life where you came to your senses and where and what that led you to?
It's probably been numerous, but the one that springs to mind the most is I was on a going through my kind of like awakening and searching for sort of purpose, and I went to this Buddhist retreat. It's called Kadampa Buddhism, and it's a retreat center in Ulverston, and it's kind of like a weekend, and you sleep loads, like you just sleep because don't know what the energy does to you, but it's just like rest. And anyway, you have these lectures, these meditations and stuff, and went to this one lecture, and I was not in. This was probably 15 years ago, maybe 2011, 2012, and I was not in a good place, and I was trying to find a purpose. I was suicidally depressed and just trying to become a better person. I'd done the 12 steps of recovery, and this lecturer was like talking about anger and how anger is our own. It's not somebody else. Nothing else is making you angry. It's your choice to be angry. And I was like, fucking no, it's not. No, it's not. That makes me angry. That makes me angry. The government, the trains, my stepdad, my dad, domestic abuse, that. And this guy's, and he keeps talking and he keeps talking. He's like, no, any situation that's happened, he said, there'll be somebody else who wouldn't get angry by that situation. Therefore, the situation is not what's making you angry. It's your perception and your choice of that situation. No. Fucking stepdad was a wanker. Bah, 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 bah. And then he went, and then he just said it again, and it just went, when I was like, oh, this motherfucker's right, man. Like, he's spot on. Like, oh my God. And that was just like destroyed. My whole identity, my whole life just got destroyed in that point in a beautiful way. And I was just like, oh my God, I have a choice. I have a choice how I react. I have a choice how I am. I now realize that nothing's ever made me angry. It's always been my choice, my conditioning, my programming based on that moment. And I felt about 2 stone lighter. Became a different person overnight, and yeah, that's probably one of the most pivotal kind of shifts and changes that's happened in my life. I'm very grateful for.
The reason I'm chuckling so much is because anger is something I've been thinking about a lot this weekend. So I find it really interesting. The first conversation I have on a Monday is with yourself, and you're sharing about anger and the transformation of seeing that it's not coming from the external world, that it's actually us or the thinking that's creating that. What intrigues me is that so many of us, when we hit rock bottom, myself, when I attempted to take my own life many years ago, we had a bad relationship with alcohol and drugs and many other things in between that as well. But what I find interesting is that the search that starts to happen when we hit that rock bottom, and what I'm intrigued by with your story is the extreme of the transformation, I suppose. And I'm curious as to what it was that took you to that particular retreat that you're talking about, because that's not an immediate thing to go and do. There must have been something else that led you there. And then where did that take you from that?
There was numerous things that kind of led me there. I'd started from getting arrested with lots of drugs, thinking I was going to prison for quite a long time, going to counselling. My mum had died a few years previously, and I was trying to sort of become a better person and just kind of navigating what that looked like. I wasn't a horrific human being. I was just like just a lad from Manchester, drugs, all, womanizing, all the, I was just a little bit, everyone thought I was a little bit crazy. And I still am crazy. Crazy is good, weird is good. Weird is positive. Weird is what changes the world. Crazy is what changes the world. Otherwise, we stagnate and things become boring, and you end up driving a Mondeo up and down the M6. Do you know what I mean? And wanting to kill yourself every day because you got this mundane shit life. So mine was just kind of like, because I'd said, as soon as like people were saying, oh, you've got to get a job when you finish school or college or uni, whatever, it's like, you want me to go to an office from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m, or you want me to do something, the same thing every day? I was like, fuck that. I've not come here to do that. So from like 16, I'd say to my mates, fuck 9 to 5. And they were like, what do you mean? And then I'd say, go to college. And I'd be like, fuck 9 to 5. People like, what do you mean? I go to uni. And everyone's like, creative, indie, dancing, alternative. Finish uni, fuck 9 to 5. What do you mean? And it's like, what? Like, what? I was like, nobody's seeing this. Like, this the only way. Like, there's got to be something better than this system that we're stuck in. And observing tribes and different, people that are free, and artists and creatives and musicians. And it was like, that was what always appealed to me, because it wasn't in this structure of 9 to 5, which is what 99.9% of people go into. And then, from getting arrested, and from going to the counselling, and from nearly going to prison and starting meditating, it was kind of a journey to go back home from the 12 steps. I'd committed to not having a spiritual awakening and stopped the steps at like step 10. And then I basically completed the steps in a completely different way to the steps, but I completed them because I did have my spiritual awakening. I did start to teach others. I did start to pass on the message. And that was like, without being in that structure of AA, NA, CA, whatever you want to call it, which are beautiful programs, which I recommend anybody out there go and do. The 12 steps of recovery, whether or not you're an alcoholic or not, it will change your life. You just go and do it. Go and do one for sober people. Like, it's a cleansing. It's a Buddhist practice. It's based on cognitive behavioral therapy, and it allows you to realize that the only, like we said again, like the only consistent in all your problems is you. So once you can take responsibility for your life and everything that's around you, and stop pointing fingers, because every time you point a finger, there's 20 pointing back at you, which has been hilarious since the Dragon's Den, because there's been a lot of finger pointing at me, which is I find hilarious, even though sometimes it is a little bit challenging. But it's like, wow, because my teachings and everything through yoga is to, love everybody, let everybody get on with whatever they're doing. Like people say about being a vegan, people are angry vegans. I was like, I couldn't give a fuck if you eat meat or not. But if you ask me a question about it, I will give you my opinion. But I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. If you come and learn from me, if you come to my yoga retreats, you're only going to be eating vegan food. That's it. Yeah. However, I cannot shout at vegans, because I'd be shouting at my old self, and my old self would go, fuck off, mate. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I have to see where I was at, because everybody's at different stages, regardless of what age you are, where you're from. Everybody's at totally different stages in their development. So it's just being accepting of all beings, of all things, and everything in the world's perfect. It's exactly as it should be, based on everyone's karma, everything that's gone before, and everything is going in the right direction. And people get stuck into pointing fingers and blaming organizations, countries, religions, governments. It's like, sort yourself out. Sort yourself out, and then everything around you will be divine, will be magical, will be blessed. So it's like, I was talking to someone on the beach last night, and he's telling me about the politics. I was like, I didn't even know that guy's name who's just won it until the other day. Do you know what I mean? Gary Neville did a podcast with him, never heard of him. And he was like, Rishi this. And I was like, they're all bellends. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't let any of them run my business at all. Do you know what I mean? Anyone in Parliament, I don't even know him, but I know it's just rinse and repeat. They're all the same. They're all programmed the same, and they're all fucking useless, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? Probably not every single one, but I'd say 99% of them.
You obviously had an inkling of just the two words the words that you haven't used, but what strikes me is that from a very young age, you had a perception of two strong things, which was structure and creativity. And the structure that I'm referring to is meaning that system, that 9 to 5, that rigidity, that routine, versus the freedom that comes along with creativity. And
well, there's something in the middle as well. There's hard work and discipline within that as well. Like, I can't do what I do and be as free as I am without my practices and my discipline. And I don't, if people come on my retreats, it's hardcore. Do you know what I mean? And lots of people are a little bit scared of me, but in a good way. They're like, I know you won't let me fail, which is scary because other teachers will let me fail. You went, I know I've got no choice other than to succeed with you, and that's scary for a lot of people.
But it's like those two things cross over, though, isn't there? Or you put it on a spectrum. It is that point of, one of my favorite phrases is discipline equals freedom. It's that recognition that it is about seeing where we get to the edges and how easy we can back away, because there's this whole world of comfort that we have now. So why not freaking run and sit and be in that, rather than actually push through it and see what's at the other side? And I think when you've been at the rough end of stuff, you kind of realize how much more resource you have as you come out the other side. So what led you to cacao? What led you to chocolate?
Cacao, not chocolate. Chocolate is
I know, I'm being facetious.
Inferior product to cacao. So chocolate is missing 99% of the active ingredients that's in cacao, which would be like me taking your fingernail and identifying as you. I wouldn't be at all. So what led me to cacao was during this whole kind of cleansing process, and kind of not wanting to be here, trying to find a purpose, wanting to kill myself for almost 3 years and just going on this mission. And they ended up in loads of serendipitous stuff happened, and he ended up in Guatemala on a pilgrimage for the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012, which was like, I only woke up to this shit 8 months ago, and I was like, fuck, woke up at the perfect time. I've been crazy and done loads of drugs, and then I was in Central South America, and I always wanted to go there and sniff cocaine, and I was there and just pure vegetarian, no drugs, nothing. I was just like, you know what I mean? I wanted to go to Colombia and stay up for 3 days when I was a partyhead. And I was over there, teetotal, kind of on this path of cleansing. And I was in this place called Tecatitlan, and I was willing to try everything. I just wanted, what's going to drop in for me. And I met a guy, and he said, there's a cacao shaman, a chocolate shaman. I was like, a fucking chocolate? I'm here for ayahuasca, mate. What's chocolate going to do for me? Willy Wonka and Oompa Loompas or something. And anyway, I was just like, he said, go and check it out. He does healing on a porch. It's pretty incredible what he does. So I was like, okay, go check it out. I went and seen what he does, learnt about cacao, realised that I knew nothing about where chocolate's from in its, its original form, about all the different qualities, about ceremonial grade cacao, about how it's used in ceremony as a healing medicine, how it opens you up, all the chemical compounds, all the heart expansion, all the cleansing and the oxygenation of the brain, the fact it's amazing for women, all the, the science and stuff. For me, I'm not into science. I've learned bits of it because it's better for me to know it than not know it, than look a fool on things like this. But I don't know everything, because that's not what appeals to me. What appeals to me is beyond the veil of the 0.05% of visible light and energy that we see. And for me to know that this is having a positive effect on people's lives and healing people. And within those ceremonies that I sat in, I saw family relationships heal. I saw romantic relationships heal. I saw people cry. I saw people laughing. I saw people open up and scream. Do you know what I mean? It was just his, which is called Keith. His the way he does ceremonies is very different than the way I do them, but I always pay homage to him, and there's certain things that he did that I use within my ceremonies. However, it's everything's about bringing your USP to whatever you're doing, and that's how I teach my students. It's like, I'm giving you a framework, but it's for you to create within that framework how you want your ceremonies to be, because the worst thing you can do is try and do a Liam Browne cacao ceremony, because you'll fail massively. because you're not Liam Browne. And so I would fail massively if I tried to do someone else's. And these, students that have graduated with us who are doing incredible things, and they've, proper been galvanized by our teacher training just to go, right, that was a pivotal moment where I really stepped up. Everything we teach is about abundance as well. Cacao's about abundance, about opening the heart. We're not here to be poor. We're not here to struggle. We're here to have everything that we need, because that's what nature is all about. Do you know what I mean? The abundant nature of the universe. And people have commented on things on Facebook. He's all about the money. It's like, nobody. I bet you're not rich. Whoever's commented on that, they're not rich, I assure you. Yeah, what money is like fucking oxygen. Yeah, you need it. If them people are commenting on that, they have to be living in an indigenous tribe and have absolutely nothing to do with money. Because if you have anything to do with money, the best thing is to have lots of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, why would you not want lots of it? Yeah. So, and the way I justify that is, and I'm not super rich or anything. I'm going to be. It's coming. It's on the way. However, the way I justify it is, the more service and the better quality of everything that I do means I'll be rewarded more and more for that every time. And everybody who works with me, for me, all my tribe will be rewarded more and more for that every time. Everyone who's drinking the cacao will step more and more into their abundance, into their power, into their beauty, into their love, into their magnificence. And I read a book called Fast Lane Millionaire. And he said, any product that you're giving, anything that you're doing, you should be giving 7 times the value of what someone's paying for that. And I really believe in everything that I do. In my yoga retreats, I probably give about 20 times the value, because I'm fucked after it. I give everything within my yoga retreats to try and transform people, and in the cacao training. So it's just like, these illusions, and people are fucked with money. This money, no one knows anything about it. Even people who say, I want to be rich, I want to be this, they just say it. It's like, they don't go and read a book. Do you know what I mean? It's like getting a recipe for a lasagna and going, I want a lasagna. You don't go to a restaurant. You don't print the recipe out. You don't buy the ingredients. You just go, I want a lasagna. I want a lasagna. It's like, that's what people do with money. It's stupid, man. It's like, read books, everything's there. If there's anyone in the world that's done something, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Do you know what I mean? Nothing is beyond you. If you focus on something, if you want a helicopter, focus on a helicopter, you get a helicopter. Yeah. The best way of getting a helicopter is having lots of money.
And it's so interesting, because it's one of those topics that triggers people massively in numerous ways. So for those who are listening, watching this, and they have no idea what we're talking about, this is, I brought this in from home. There is cacao in there, but I thought this was easier to bring in than the other 1 kilogram bag that I have at home. But one of the things that made me chuckle, Liam, as I was sat before we started, I suddenly realized there's a best before date. Of course, it's a food product, it's going to have a best before date. And I just chuckled because it's the 19th of January 2025, and I'm like, as if that would last that long in my house.
Exactly. That's when people email us that, I'm like, if you don't eat it by then, there's something over here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to give a bit of context, but I'd love to continue the money conversation, because I think it's a really cool conversation that you're saying. So so Full Power Cacao, I'm not on commission. I have been using it now for, I think it's 4 years. I have it every single morning, along with some other goodies that go into my cup. And I use it as part of my meditation practice. I use it because of the benefits from a health perspective. It also enables me, if anyone's interested in doing intermittent fasting, from my perspective, I've tested myself. It doesn't raise my glucose, so it keeps me in a great state, and I feel phenomenal. I feel focused with it. So it's great. I love it. And you took this product, which is still pretty out there in many ways in the mainstream. It's just starting, more and more people, number of clients now that have started talking to me about it, that I'm like, oh, wow, 4 years ago, or even a year ago, they didn't know. But you are pioneering this being a conversation in mainstream. And one of the ways that you've done it this year, I don't know if you recorded it last year and it went out this year, but you were on Dragon's Den looking for investment. And you You walked away with 3 dragons.
Yeah, like incredible experience. Took our business to the next level, and some people think that it was you sold out or you did this. But it's like, no, because I'm here to be massive. I'm here to take cacao to the masses. The Cacao Shaman he didn't give me the mission, but within his ceremony, every time we had a ceremony, he went, cacao will take over room coffee by 2032. And I feel that from 2020, because I was working with cacao from 2012, but from 2020, it was like cacao, all the things that I'd been learning and working in music, and I was lost and I didn't know. I was teaching yoga and I was doing little cacao ceremonies, chocolate yoga. I was still working, doing tree surgery and painting and decorating and normal work. And it was like 2020, cacao just went, right, you ready? You're doing cacao ceremonies. And then they just kept selling out. It's like, okay, I'll just go with this. And then people asked me to teach them. And then it was like, you should have your own cacao brand, because there was none of the cacaos that I was super happy with. They were good. I was happy with them, but I knew there was something more. And I knew that I had to go on a mission to find the best ceremonial grade cacao on the planet. And I really do feel in my heart that I've done that. I feel that there's 2 other cacaos on the market that have a good really high vibration, that vibrationally, energetically, nutritionally are as good as my cacao, but they don't taste as good as my cacao. So my cacao is like so blessed that we found this area. People are like, how have you done business with people in Venezuela? How have you got stuff out of Venezuela? You can't do this, you can't do that. It's like can't doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I just make things happen, man. Like border force, the police were stopping the cacao coming through. If people are like, you wrote a book called Dealer to Healer, and it's like, yeah, dealer to healer, and now the next one's probably dealer to healer to dealer, but without thinking about the police coming around. So yeah, like the popularity of cacao before I went on Dragon's Den is increasing all the time, because like I started the business in 2021. So our first year of trading really was 2022 when I started going to festivals, because I launched the business it was the 12/12/21, which was pivotal because I was in Guatemala for 21/12/12, so it was numerically exactly the same. So I felt like I was really pulling that energy in of the cosmic moment, 21/12/12, the end of the Mayan calendar, the start of the new age. I was going from Aquarius into Pisces, from the age of the masculine into the feminine, from this heart-centered world rather than this mental world that we've been in for 2,000 years. So it kind of like, then 2020, it was like I was started hitting events, and I was just hammering it. Like, people keep asking me about business, and can I come and have a meeting with you? It's like, no, just get out there and start hammering it. Like, why do you want to waste my time? Like, have a chat with me. I don't even know you. Like, if you want to pay me £1,000 to have a chat with me, yeah, you can do. Or you want me to or listen to the podcast. There's loads of information about me chatting, but for you to come and take my time is the most precious, the most valuable aspect of my life, because I have very little of it, and my life is intense at the moment. So it's kind of like, just get out there, start pushing your product, start letting people know, start talking about it, start, being seen. And that's what we hammered for the first 2 years. But the first 2 years, it was just educating people. Like, telling them, have you tried cacao? No. And people who walk past and go, no. I was like, do you want to try some? No. Do you know what it is? No. It's like, what? And then, so I'm on it. I'm like, so you don't like love, abundance, and joy in liquid form? And they go, no. I was like, what about you, darling? To a friend, and she go, yeah, yeah, okay, I'll try some. And I was like, when her face goes crazy about how good this is, you can't have any because you've already made a really terrible decision. Your higher self is screaming at you right now. I do let her have some, but I just play with people, do you know what I mean? So a friend has some, and she's like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then her other one's like, no, you can't have any. I just play with them for a little bit, and then I let them have some.
I have to say, sorry to interrupt you, but the event that I met you at, I have been using cacao for many, many years prior to that. And I have to say, I am biased, but your cacao is the best cacao I've ever had. Genuinely, that's one of the reasons I wanted you on here. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to promote this. And I remember that I had some cacao at that event, and then there was some breath work, and then there was I think there was some crystal bowls that were then done, and I then bumped into some other people that I'd met that day, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I went, in all honesty, I feel like I'm high, and I don't mean in like I'm off my head and out of control. I said, but I feel so blissed out, and so I went back to your stall, and I came away with tons of cacao that day, and then it's just been something. So I agree with you. There's many on the market, and I think it would be really helpful for people to understand what you mean by, or what is meant by, ceremonial grade cacao. And also what it is that you guys do, because I used to use different brands, but sorry mate, it's full power the whole way now.
So there's a few different elements within that, what makes our cacao full power, what makes it ceremonial grade. There's been a lot of debate online, there's been a lot of things thrown at me online since Dragon's Den. Before that, when you're not successful, people don't really pay you much attention. When you are successful, like, jealousy crops up and people like start throwing things at you, which is, I find hilarious. However, ultimately, the only definition, which is the definition by the Cacao Shaman, who brought all this kind of back into the mainstream, back into the Western world, released a lot of the ancient hidden mysteries behind cacao. It is just one really simple sentence. Cacao that is a grade high enough to be used in ceremony. That's it. Yeah? On top of that, you'll typically find that it's criollo cacao. Criollo cacao is a ceremonial grade cacao. There's not as much criollo cacao about because it's more difficult to grow. It's quite delicate. And then you've got criollo porcelina rojo, and then you've got Gorese, and they're really difficult to grow. Very delicate. Porcelana is porcelain, you know what I mean? So and then there's things like it typically ceremonial grade cacao can only be organic. And people have been throwing lots of stuff at us, where have you got it from? It's got to be from an indigenous tribe for it to be ceremonial. People who think they know more than me, that have been working with cacao for 2 years, and I've been working with it for 12 years now. And it's like, I'm not just some dickhead who's gone, oh, there's money to be made with cacao, which is what has happened since Dragon's Den, and in the last 2 years, from people seeing what I do and seeing how successful I've been within this thing. It's not like nobody's done it like I've done it at any point. Do you know what I mean? I'm almost forced it down people. It's like, you need to taste it, man. Taste it. If 90% of the people who walk past my stall don't taste cacao, I've failed. It doesn't matter if you never have it again, but cacao's working. It's a little bit of magic. It's some of them might never have had plant medicine before. It's like, I've got plant medicine into somebody. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, people sometimes don't like the way I am. I'm forceful, and like when I do events, like people, the organizers go, come and watch Liam. He's a great salesman. And I'm like, I'm not a salesman. I'd be shit at sales. Do you know what I mean? I'm just passionate about this product, my brand, and cacao in general. Like, people sometimes would question me. It's like, go and look at my launch video that's pinned at the top of my Instagram, and it says, I'm going to take over the scene because I'm going to make this cacao popular and massive. My brand's going to be huge, globally known. However, that is not at the detriment to any other cacao brands. That is to bring you up as well. And there's only one cacao brand that thanked me since Dragon's Den. Everybody's sales went through the roof because people were just searching for cacao, which is beautiful, and that's what I wanted to happen. And it's not all about, because they ask you in Dragon's Den, the dragons ask you, who's your competition? I was like, coffee. Like, coffee's my competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody who's doing cacao is. Let people figure out what cacao vibrates with their vibration, because everybody's built differently, tastes differently, vibrationally differently. So my cacao might not be for everybody. However, you might try mine first because you've heard about it, or you might hear about mine and try a different one, and that might be the one for you, which is great. And even as, when I'm teaching yoga and my students get a little bit addicted to me, and I'm like, go and try another teacher. You'll learn something's blocking at the moment. Go and try another teacher. Go and try everything, because even I've learned some pivotal things from teachers that I think aren't very good. Just one little thing that they've taught different. I'm like, oh, right, yeah, that's an interesting way of doing that. And I wouldn't necessarily go to their classes, but this, and I also learned from people that I think are shit, because I'm like, oh, they're doing well and that's not very good. Like, what have they done to be that successful? Like bands and stuff like that. And I'm like, how have they done that? They're terrible. It's like, and people think you need all these different elements. Like, I'm not the best singer in the world, but I sing in all my ceremonies and I own it and we have it and people love it. Bob Dylan, a really successful musician, he can't sing. It's like, don't let any limitations hold you back from being successful in the field that you're supposed to be successful in. Did that answer your question? I don't know where I went.
Yes, kind of, and there's other things, and I think that this is again one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on, because I know from that first time, and it's the only time I've met you, that your passion and your enthusiasm, I can say with absolute truth, yes, I had to pay for my cacao, but the way that you, and I think there were 2 or 3 other guys that were going around giving it out. And the way that you were giving it out wasn't about, give me your money. It wasn't about that. It was like, this is important. And when you were talking then, I'm like, so basically being a drug dealer gave you all the training that you needed in order to be able to do what you're doing now.
100%.
And I love that. I just think there's a successful businessman who I know goes into prisons and basically says to the guys there, you've got the skills, you just need to direct it in another way, and you won't be waiting for the door to be, the police to be knocking on the door. And again, I think this is where, I think very often when people see someone go on something like Dragon's Den and also walk away with what they were looking for, more than what they were looking for, which is freaking awesome, is that it triggers shit in other people. It's bound to trigger shit in other people. But what I think your previous 12 years, not only in this industry, but also with what you've been through in life, has obviously given you a robustness where it's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not trying to bring down other cacao grounds. I'm trying to bring down coffee so that we've got cacao there, which is a very, very different conversation, because people assume, well, if Bob's selling cacao and Liam's selling cacao, then Liam's obviously going to want to bring down Bob. And it's like, nah, let's raise all the, raising the tide so that everyone goes up with it, which I think
Totally.
is amazing.
And it's trying to get people aware of good quality cacao. So cacao is just like wine and coffee. You've got shit, and you've got the creme de la creme, you've got everything in between, then you've got ceremonial grade, which is up here, and then you've got everything in between of ceremonial grade cacao. Our cacao is from Venezuela, from Sil del Lago in Venezuela. It's mythically, this is mythically, because then people will tell me it's the first place is Ecuador, the first place is Colombia. Like, it's like, you're wrong. It's like, I'm saying mythically, you don't know shit, I don't know shit. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll admit that. However, it is said that mythically this Guaresce, Guasare is the way you pronounce it. I used to pronounce it Guaresce before I went to Venezuela. Guasare cacao is like the mythical first cacao that was ever found on Earth. And there's been when we were in Sil del Lago, this guy has found this. There's a couple of these trees still in Venezuela, but it's like a 6-hour donkey ride into like the jungle to find them. So it was, when we were there, it was really beautiful to see the Criollo Porcelana and the Criollo Rojo Porcelana, because I thought they were mythical as well. And it was like, wow, like these are next level cacaos. And the thing is with Sil del Lago, like they're trying to really bring in the Criollo cacao. So like they're just focusing on that, like everything that they plant is Criollo cacao, because there's hybrids of it, because there's lots of stuff that's been planted up there throughout the last 500 years. It's been there for thousands and thousands of years. Like Forastero, the Tintararo, which is like a hybrid, and they just fuck each other. The plants like cross-pollinate and create these hybrids, and you look in some of the pods and it's almost like mixed race pods. Do you know what I mean? There's all these different, you can see that it's like one, like a pure Criollo, a pure Forastero, a Tintiaro, and then there's lots of everything in between. So it's this hybrid, and yeah, it's like incredible to sort of get people understanding what ceremonial grade cacao is. That it is the creme de la creme, and then you've got everything within that ceremonial grade cacao, the quality, where it's grown, where it's harvested, how it's processed, how it's fermented, everything. And like the people that we're working with are so professional, and it's like the science on it as well. Like they open up the beans and, you know what I mean, they're checking everything. And you know, in other places they might not be checking that. They might be insects getting in the cacao. What the factories and stuff that we went to were just like, wow. And I'm so, people are like, see you in a factory and they go, oh, that's not authentic. It needs to be ground by an indigenous woman wearing a flowery blouse at 3:30 p.m. on a full moon. It's like, I'm not going to take over from coffee if I'm buying cacao off her, because I'll be like, yo, love, can you hurry up? I need more cacao.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
it's like,
it's like with anything though, isn't there? There's this purist side of things, and I have an appreciation of that and the sacredness, etc. And you cannot. I know from myself the difference that this has made in my life. It's why I bang on about it with people. It's why I encourage people to put it into their lives. But when I lost my train of thought there. Could you tell the light bulb just went off as opposed to back on? But I think when you're looking to do that purpose that you've got, and that passion, as you say, you couldn't do that if you were just looking for the purest of the purest of the purest of the pure that was done under the full moon at a certain time by the woman in the flowery blouse. And it's not to negate the value of that, but it's recognizing the implications. And you know, one of the reasons that I started this podcast was about, I wanted to have conversations and share information that has changed my life, that has that can help people come to their senses in so many different ways, with the aim of raising consciousness. I'm not a yoga teacher. I don't run ceremonial cacao sessions. I don't do any of those things, but the work that I do, I know impacts in that way. And so therefore wanted to bring other people that are doing the other parts of it to go, these are other ways that you can come to your senses. And what was so fabulous, I just share this with you, is I volunteer at a charity, a women's charity. And they were asking me, the staff were asking me about my podcast. And I said, who are you interviewing next? I said, well, actually, next week I'm going to be interviewing Liam Browne. And one girl who I would say is probably about 20 immediately stopped in attraction. She went, Dragon's Den, Liam? And I said, yeah. Now, even a year or so ago, if I'd have interviewed you, that wouldn't have had that impact. And she was like, I need to order some of that. Have you tried it? And it's a conversation that fair play to you with all the challenges that you've had and the pushback, and your weird, wonderful self has been on this path for obviously a long fucking time, that's been out there of putting yourself as this weird, wonderful you. For this, I think it's a phenomenal purpose to be pushing forward, and I do think that it has far more benefits from my personal experience. I don't know the science behind it. If I was to drink coffee in the same way as I drink the cacao, it's a very different experience. So yeah, it's definitely a great way forward. So I'm going to hand out my last question, because we never know how long this last question is going to be and how long we wrap this up with.
Before you say your
last question? Sure.
So in terms of like you saying about the women's group and stuff, like scientifically, the benefits for women are just phenomenal because of the iron and magnesium content, like which women are getting depleted of during their bleed, during their cycle, and also in perimenopausal and menopausal. So cacao is like this perfect friend for you when you're going through those stages. And you know, we've had thousands and thousands of emails of women just saying thank you so much, like, and that's what I just sometimes just want to go to the haters, like, just read that, man. Like, we're doing good shit. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't like the way I do things, I don't wear the right clothes, I'm not hippie enough for you. Like, you know, everything that I read is like the next gurus and stuff are just going to be wearing a t-shirt and jeans and look like normal people, and everybody's normal. It don't matter what you're wearing, it's your energy. So it's like, for women, it's really important to like get this into your diet, because you know, we've had people who've said I've had period cramps leading up to my period for 15 years. It's been really, really difficult. And I had your cacao and I came on my period and I did not know I was coming on my period. She was like, that is the biggest gift anybody has. She went, I've been on all medications, I've been to the doctors, I've been to this. And I was just like, wow, like, that's overwhelmingly beautiful. So it just, every time something comes in and like tries to dig it, it's just remember that, you know what I mean? That's the most important thing. If we're doing some good, we're giving people a little bit of freedom within their lives, making their health a little bit better. It's a superfood, it's a health food, it's a natural antidepressant, it's a natural mood enhancer, it's amazing for your heart health. 1 in 5 people die of cardiovascular issues. It's cleansing, clearing the capillaries and the arteries around your heart. It's giving the heart a little workout. It's also oxygenating the brain, giving yourself a little bit of freedom from the what we call in yoga chitta vritti narodaha, the bullshit thoughts that go around in your head that hold you back from your own greatness. So it's like, step into your greatness, drink cacao, go on your journey, whatever that may be. You know, we want it to be everywhere, because there's also the thing of people saying this is only for people that you should only be drinking ceremonial grade cacao in ceremonies. It's like, well, the farmers are going to be pretty pissed off then, aren't they? Because they ain't going to be selling much of it unless everybody's doing a ceremony. And you know, our next
and it's
ceremony,
different. It's different to be having it every day and then having a ceremony. You know, I don't know how regularly I have a ceremony, but I have it every day. And as a menopausal woman, I can honestly say that it's been a phenomenal support throughout. I'm pretty sure I can't pinpoint it down to cacao because I've done a number of different things, but it's certainly nothing. You know, it's certainly not something I would remove from my diet at all. It's absolutely think it's of great value. So obviously, other than drinking cacao every day, what habits or practices do you have that help you navigate through life's chaoses? So like when you've got all of the bombarding challenges that you're talking about at the moment, that help you remain clear and remain in that from that place of awareness. What are the practices that you've got?
So yoga every morning, non-negotiable, like at least just a little bit of warm up, move the body, and then the magic 10, which is a Jiva Mukti 10 postures, and then I might add some more on, but the magic 10 and the little bit of warm up is like non-negotiable. That's like my minimum daily practice. And then there'll be a breathwork meditation. So there's a breath, like 3 rounds of breath that I do with a meditation at the end, and the cacao. We drink the cacao just before we meditate. We open ourselves, we clear whatever we might have picked up, Palo Santo, and then we open up to the divine, connecting to the earth, calling the cacao spirit, calling the cacao shaman, calling, like I work with the Christ conscious energy, so we are pushing the Christ conscious. When we bless the cacao, that's another thing that, you know, is kind of unique to what we do, which nobody else can do. They could buy the same cacao from the same supplier as us, but they ain't going to be blessing it with my energy and my partner's energy. She's like the most clear, divine, beautiful human being that I've ever met, and what she can pull through on an ethereal level is beyond anybody's imagination. She's like the healer of healers, and you know, we spend a good hour blessing the cacao when it arrives in, clearing it of any negativity that it might have, anything that it might have forgotten about what its mission is to open people's hearts. And, you know, from different times, we'll always be carrying different energies. We'll always be working on something different, like not the cacao that we've just got in, but the one before it was a very emotional cacao. It was like a really kind of like opening people up, allowing them to release emotions, tears. And we really felt it was emotional blessing, that cacao. So it's always, we're putting that energy into it, and that's, nobody else can do that. They can do their own energy, but it's what I've learned over the years. It's what my higher self is, whatever energies that I'm connected to. So yeah, yoga, meditation, breath work, and then I've got a river on my property, so I get in the river, so cold water therapy, and I stay in the river for a few minutes, and then get out the river. Football, let's go. Because we're renovating a house, so it's like renovating this property. We've been doing it for a year. It's going to be our retreat center, so it's like get on it. My bottom half, I've got my painting clothes on, because I've been chainsawing loads of trees that have come down on the property this morning. I'm going to go and paint my partner's goddess temple for her in a minute.
It's just so phenomenal. I do wonder what your 10-year-old or 15-year-old self would make of Liam, and looking at you. What would your 15-year-old self say to you?
Crackhead. It's like, well, just like you fucking lunatic, like crazy, crazy mad hippie. Like I was, I was brought up in a very like racist, xenophobic, sexist, kind of like toxic masculine environment, football, drinking, separation between males and females when you went out. Yeah, and now most of my best friends are women.
And you're about to go and paint your partner's goddess temple.
Go on, paint the goddess temple. Yeah, it's nearly finished. Then I can crack on with my man then.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Liam, I knew it would be a phenomenal conversation with you. I'm so grateful. We will put the links to access any of whether it's Full Power Cacao or whether it's your social medias, website, etc., all in the show notes. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story and taking the time to chat today.
Lots of love, darling. Thank you very much.